All right, what's up, YouTube? So, a few people asked me to do a video on what my keybinds for the Azeron are for arc raiders. I'd be happy to tell you guys what my keybinds are. Now, I have another video. I probably have a few videos out about like how I do my keybinds and stuff for just games in general when I'm doing things. So normally we have, I'm just gonna bring it up on the screen here. So normally right here, jump, let me tell you, first I'm going to tell you all the things that stay in the same spot and for the most part don't really move depending on what, you know, game I'm playing, right? Any like action game, shooting game, game where it's like third person, you run around, you got guns, stuff like that. Normally I have jump is always here, right? If you can jump in the game, this is always jump. It never moves. Crouch is usually here. I don't think I've ever really moved crouch. Shift, which is sprint or walk, like walk in Valorant, sprint in pretty much every other game. And in this game, I have shoulder swap right here. So you always want to have your shoulder swap in a very comfortable place because you're going to be using shoulder swap a lot, and I think this is a really good place to have it. The idea of what I have here is like my movement keys are all on the same row. So my jump, my crouch, my shoulder swap, my sprint and walk, sprint button. I don't have a walk button in here, but you can bind walk, I think. But my sprint button in this game, all of these movement keys are on the same row. So then on the row behind it back here are my weapon keys. So usually, even in Fortnite, in any other game, usually if I have two weapons, it's usually these two are my weapons that I switch to, weapon 1, weapon 2, and then we got melee weapon, which is your 3 button, and then I have holster right here. So when I'm running, I can manipulate both of these at the same time. Usually if I'm running along and I need to put my weapon away, I don't like letting up off of the button, and if I couldn't do this comfortably enough, I would switch the button to somewhere else so that I could always be moving at the same time while I'm pressing this button, and I can holster by just kind of like pressing down on the back part of my finger here on my pinky. Generally, any buttons that you would normally use together, you don't want them on the same like row. Like here, you don't want the buttons that you use with the same finger on the same row unless you think you can press them together. Like these buttons are pretty much like if I have to if I had to jump into a roll, I could do it, but it doesn't really feel good, right? Like it doesn't feel good. If I had to jump, but if I was jumping and I had to switch to weapon 1 or you know something like that, roll into weapon 1, you can do that. So like if I'm running, like I'm using the joystick and I'm running in a direction and I decide, you know, I'm shooting or whatever, and then I were to like let's say for instance I shoot a Pharaoh shot, right? Let's just use the anvil for because this is what I've been trying to like start getting used to doing is taking a shot, right? Swapping the weapon and then rolling. So I would take a shot, swap. Wait, that was I had to press 1, not 2. So I take a shot, roll, and then you know, and I roll and get up, and now I have my other gun out, right? So that's what I've been trying to do, like with the Pharaoh. So I would do shot, switch weapons, and then roll. I press jump. But this is why I'm saying I gotta practice this. So shot, switch weapon, roll, so that I would have my other gun out when I come out of my roll. That's something that I started learning, and maybe I'll do a little TikTok on that because I don't think anybody really utilizes it that way. Because like especially with Pharaoh shot, it's like you have to switch weapons anyway, and normally if you're doing this and then you switch weapons, it's like you're waiting for your other weapon to come out. So you fire a shot and you press the button and you're waiting for your other weapon to come out, and that whole time you're just exposed, right? So it would be better. I know I'm supposed to be showing you my keybinds, but this is a reason why like I have the buttons spread out in the way that I do, so that I can make sure that I know what button is where at all times. And then sometimes certain buttons need to be comfortable to be able to press in quick succession, right? So shot, switch weapon, and roll. And I can do that because I know where my my roll button and my switch weapon button are on the same finger. So like I could swap it so that it's on a different finger and be able to do it a little bit easier with two different fingers. So I would do shot and then press like a button with this finger and then a button with this finger, like swap weapons and roll or something like that, right? But I think it's fine the way it is, where I can do this roll and then swap weapons, shoot, roll, shoot. I'm supposed to press it two. Shoot two, roll, shoot. Because you don't want to roll. This the thing. You don't want to roll and then pull and then hit the weapon button, because he'll pull the weapon out after he gets up from the roll. So this is something that I definitely need to practice. Shoot, not shoot, roll. Shoot, swap, roll. Right? Shoot, swap, roll. 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 Okay, there we go. There's a little lesson, a little tip for you right there that you could do in the game. But getting back to the keybinds, right? So there's my movement keys, my weapon buying keys, and then like I also have some other, usually on this row, if you have skills is where I normally would do that. But like I need roll in this game, and usually when you're doing something, roll is usually like press forward and then like crouch or forward jump or forward and something like sprint jump or sprint double tap jump, and you roll in games sometimes. But I need crouch and I need roll, so I usually I would put maybe roll here, but I need shoulder swap to be here. I mean, I guess I could switch these two buttons and have shoulder swap on this button and have my roll here, but I think I'm cool with how it is. So because in that way I'd be able to do shoot swap roll, right? Shoot swap roll, and be able to press those buttons in quick succession. But I mean, I don't need to press them that fast, and doesn't need to be that precise. So that, it doesn't matter. So with my quick wheel is right here. So that kind of counts as like a special, where it's like when I say special, I mean like skills. Like if you have like a skill like in Valorant, right? All of my skill buttons are set to these, right? So like my QE, your QE, what is it? Your maybe your T like skill or whatever, but it's usually Q and E. Q and E are usually here for skills, but since we don't really have skills per se, we have like items, and then you have like your flashlight, I guess. But flashlight I put up there because I turn on and off sometimes. I could put flashlight right here, because either way I have to take my finger off of the joystick to do that. I mean, I could just hit my flashlight and stick it here. That way, when I'm moving around, I can just turn my flashlight on and off without having to stop moving. That's another important thing. You don't want to put buttons in places where you need to use them, where you have to take your finger off the joystick to use them. So like if I was gonna, since I can use my your quick wheel or whatever while you're moving, I wouldn't want to put my quick wheel up here, because then I would have to stop and then press this button, to get my quick wheel to come up and then do something. I'd be standing still. You don't want to stop yourself from moving if you don't have to, right? So like I can move around and select things or whatever, and still be able to like use my stuff, right? Roll, and then I could do that too. I can roll and have my quick wheel up and stuff like that. So like that's why you want to make sure you have your buttons in a very comfortable place. So the next thing I have up here is like I have this interact button, but I don't use interact on the Azeron. I use interact on my mouse. I have a side button for interact, and I also have a side button for proximity push to talk. I used to use it right here, and normally in Valorant I would use it right here in here. I don't. I think I had a my mouse. I used to use the super light for Valorant, and it only had 2 buttons on it. And I forget exactly what I used to use those buttons for. I know one of them was team chat on the back, which is why I have prox chat on this button back here. And then there's a button in the front, and I use that button for picking things up. Normally, I use that button for picking things up in most games now. So my interact button to pick things up, and my my push to talk button is on my mouse usually. It's just easier because like I can, like I said, I can just, move around. And if I'm running, then I don't want to have to stop and press that button. Cause like if I take my finger off of, if I'm running around, like I'm using, WSD, I'm using joystick and I'm holding down sprint. If I want to use prox chat, I have to stop sprinting, or I have to like stretch my finger down here to do that. And it's like it's not really comfortable to be like having to keep doing this, and then sometimes you might lift up off the. So it's like I'd rather just be able to do this and then press the prox chat button if I need it over here. And usually with my teammates, I'm in open chat. So in like Discord or whatever. If I'm in open chat in the game, or if I'm in chat in the game, usually I'm using push to talk. Push to talk I have up here. So like if I do need it, I'll use it. We just move my flashlight here, and then I don't really use this interact button here, so I can actually delete that by right clicking it. And then my map button I have up there. So map, sometimes you're walking along, running, and then while you're using your map, you can still walk. Like you can still run while you're using your map. So you can hit map and you can still be walking, and then you hit map to come back out of your map. Escape is always here, and then tab is tab is not necessarily here, but my inventory is usually right here. Reload is always here. Sometimes my inventory is in a different spot depending on what game I'm playing, but most of the time my inventory is here. So inventory here, reload stays here all the time. This is where my reload button is all the time, and no matter what game I'm playing. So the things that do not move most of the time on my Azeron when I'm playing games is escape. I had to find a new spot for escape because I used to use escape here, and the D-pad nub doesn't really like being pressed a million times. So like you don't want to put something on here that you're going to be constantly pressing. So that's the only thing that happened to my very first Azeron, is that I had escape on this. And I used to you escape out of everything. Out of all your menus, you're always hitting escape. So I hit this so much that the button wore out. Like left, right, and forward was fine, but back was just worn out because I was always hitting escape to go into the pause menu, hitting escape to leave the pause menu, hitting escape out of menus, going into a menu with a different button, or going into a menu here, and then always hitting escape. And it's escape, right? So it's like I used that button way more than I thought I would, and it wore the button out. So I moved escape down here since the Cyborg 2 has these 2 buttons. I used to use this for random things. Like I don't know. Like I could probably put flashlight here, but like I said, there's times where I don't want to put something here that I need to use while I'm walking around. So, like for instance, if I wanted emote, like I could probably put emote here, because usually you're not walking around while you're using your emotes. Like I don't think you can move around and do emotes at the same time. So I could always hit emote here, and then select my emote and do that. So I'm gonna put emote right there. This button down here is just to show you what it is. It's the joystick button. I never really used the joystick button because if I have to press on the joint that's right here in order to press that. But I have found that usually when I want to use the joystick button, I usually bring this finger up, put it behind the joystick module, and then press it. that way I'm pressing and all the force is going into my finger instead of into this joint, right? So I don't use this joystick button at all for that reason. If I needed to use it for anything, that's how I would use it. But I don't need it to use it for anything, because normally what you would use it for in a game like this would be run, right? Like you would click in the joystick to run, but we don't do that here. We have the sprint button. So that's my keybinds for Arc Raiders and the explanation of, you know, what I use and where I put it and why. So if you have any questions, please do put it in the comments, and I'll be glad to answer any questions you have about, you know, where you're putting your buttons or where my buttons are. But that's about it, and I will catch you guys in Arc Raiders. Peace.